Nestled on a peak overlooking Los Angeles, it's some of the most historic telescopes in the world. As I've been getting more and more into astrophotography, and back into astronomy as a whole, I decided I'd take a day to travel up the San Gabriel Mountains to visit Mount Wilson, home to the 100-inch Hooker telescope, where Edwin Hubble effectively discovered the universe and where he later discovered it is expanding. Let's go check it out. The Mount Wilson Observatory is located on the summit of Mount Wilson at an altitude of 5,715 feet. With funds from the Carnegie Institution of Washington, the Mount Wilson Observatory was founded by astronomer George Ellery Hale in 1904. Observing conditions on the mountain were first tested as early as 1889 when a Harvard expedition led by William Pickering installed a 13-inch refractor on the mountaintop. Hale decided to first visit Mount Wilson himself in 1903. Low clouds covered the town of Pasadena the morning of the 25th of June. Hale was concerned as he traveled up the mountain if it would be a good choice for a solar observatory after all. However, about halfway up the mountain, the clouds broke and he was met with clear blue skies and a brilliant bright sun. Hale was so excited by the conditions on the mountain that he dedicated a poem, a picture growing clear before his eyes of all that was to be in the years to come upon that mountaintop. Alrighty everyone, welcome to Mount Wilson. I'm here with a friend of mine. Say hello.
Hello, you moved me a mountain now.
Jesus Christ. It is a beautiful day. Okay, so I just grabbed the day pass and we're walking back up to the cafe. Again, this is the parking lot. And we're going to be starting the tour here pretty soon. So, this is my first time coming to Mount Wilson.
Also mine.
By extent.
Me too.
So, we are just following the signs. We just came back from the Cosmo Cafe. You can already see one of the solar towers, which is pretty neat. It's a very short trail from the parking lot and the Cosmo Cafe up to the observatory grounds through a beautiful alpine forest. Our first destination on the way up to the historic telescopes was the Astronomical Museum.
And I believe they do have astronomy stuff. We'll find out.
That would be breaking news if they do. The Astronomical Museum is a fairly small building with historical context and several photographs, as well as recreations of various important letters written by people working at or visiting the observatory. From the Astronomical Museum, it's a short walk up to the 150-foot solar tower. Construction of the 150-foot solar tower was completed in 1910, but the mirrors were considered unacceptable. It wasn't until 1912 that the telescope was finally complete. Beneath the tower, a 75-foot-long spectrograph, split lines bouncing down from the 17-inch mirror sitting within the dome at the top of the tower. It was with the solar tower that search for the sun's magnetic field began. Right now, we're walking towards the dome housing the 60-inch telescope. And of course, right now it's closed, but you can actually pay to have either half a night or a full night of observing through this very telescope, as well as the 100-inch. But of course, we're not doing that today. Hopefully sometime though. Construction of the 60-inch telescope and its mounting began in 1905, and was almost halted by the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco. When completed, the 60-inch telescope was the largest operating telescope in the world. Today, like its larger cousin next door, the telescope is used for public outreach. Alright, so, we just saw one of the domes for the Cara array, and we are now walking across the bridge up to the dome housing the 100-inch Hooker telescope. I was mentioning to Enrique, every once in a while you'll see some of these cylindrical surfaces. Originally I thought these were supposed to be the base for perhaps another telescope dome, but these are in fact water tanks because unfortunately this area is incredibly fire prone. And we will be able to go into the observation gallery for this. I am planning a private tour of the facility for January. Hopefully weather allows for this trip to happen. And we'll be able to walk underneath the 60-inch and 100-inch domes. There you go, there's a sign talking about the water tank. 530,000 gallons. Apparently this is called the Bridge to the Stars. In 1931, Albert Einstein came up to see the observatory where the expansion of the universe had recently been confirmed by Edwin Hubble and Milton Humason, who are partially obscured behind all the others. In the front and to the right of the famous physicist are Walter Adams, the second director of the Mount Wilson Observatory after George Ellery Hale, and William Campbell, president of the University of California, and former director of the Lick Observatory. This footbridge connects the 100-inch telescope to the galley, where astronomers prepare their midnight meal or drink tea and coffee while waiting for clouds to pass. The 100-inch telescope hardly needs an introduction. Completed in 1917, it was the world's largest telescope until completion of the 200-inch telescope at Mount Palomar. It was in 1923 that with this telescope, Edwin Hubble was able to gather conclusive evidence that objects like Andromeda were not nebulae within the Milky Way, but instead, as he described them, other island universes far out beyond our own galaxy.
Revolutionized our understanding of the universe. More important discoveries were made with this telescope than any other in history. The primary mirror rests at the bottom of the telescope tube.
The 100-inch telescope is a truly awe-inspiring sight. Although the price is a bit steep, you can actually reserve a night of observation through the 60-inch as well as the 100-inch telescope, and I hope I get the chance to do so for my 30th birthday. Oh, there we go, walking out into the sun. That was very impressive. What were your thoughts?
It was very big, and the guy is crazy for sitting on top of it.
Yeah, I was mentioning to him that Edwin Hubble would sit pretty much on the peak of the thing. You definitely do not want to have a fear of heights for this type of work. After viewing the 100-inch telescope, we walked around the grounds for a few more minutes, then started the walk back to the parking lot. If you have an interest in either astronomy or history, I highly recommend visiting Mount Wilson. It is less than an hour's drive from the city of Los Angeles, and it's incredible knowing you are walking in the footsteps of some of the most influential people in the history of astronomy and astrophysics. Look forward to when I take the private tour next year, when I'll be able to have footage from within the domes themselves. Until then, I hope I catch you all again next time.